Right. Let's see. Going mute, edit. Come on. Wait, my audio is okay. Just make sure it didn't switch itself somehow. Live. Come on. Come on, YouTube. You can do it. Load. There we go. On, please. I would like to earn money. And live. Oh, that was fast. Right, live chat. Yeah, starting a bit early. And this is going to be uh, pretty short because of circumstances. So I have to be off by before 6 something. My brain's already starting to fail. Get that up. Get not this one, but this one up. And of course, as always, Google Earth, Eternal Nemesis. Uh, okay, clearly Andrew's here. Supposedly two people are here, but the whole oh, there it goes. Just took it a second. Right, come on. Why are you over the southeastern US when I've been constantly looking at stuff about Azerbaijan and Armenia this whole time? Google, your whole like spy thing is your spy software is failing. All right. We'll still wait till about 10 minutes like usual. In the meantime, I'll just go over random stuff while we wait for everyone to show up. Oh yeah, saw this. Wow, that is really small. Darn, I thought it was going to be larger, but saw this the other day from apparently a Chinese anti-American propaganda cartoon, and like all these like anti-American cartoons like from China, North Korea, and everybody like they always consistently make the American characters like not look like you would think. They make them look extremely cool as opposed to like like dis disfigured, discouraging images. So yeah, this one someone like captioned this on Twitter. It was like, "Be the American that Chinese propaganda thinks you are." Uh, oh yeah, I forgot. I put them over here in the wrong thing. So yeah, like I said, while we're waiting to actually start. For anybody who's not aware, in some of the community posts and stuff, you can find links to like stuff I put together for you guys to look at if you want to. Like this is a Google Doc that goes to, or it is a Google Doc about different maps I put together showing the like areas that have been explored and areas that have still not yet been explored for oil and gas in different countries or regions. In this case, this one is the Caspian Sea. Then there's China. They're bigger when you look at it on your actual screen as opposed to in the shrunken like window in a stream. But yeah, I've done quite a few. I just finished the Angola one last night. So Angola's actually only had like half of their area explored, almost all of which is offshore because onshore Angola topographically is not. you're not really going to get oil there. So all their stuff is basically offshore, and only about half of which has actually been explored, uh, despite it being like kind of easy to work with. And that is because the oil companies have not really wanted to go back to Angola because Angola has gotten really inconsistent with their taxation rates. So, for example, like back up home in Alaska, we tax the oil industry 40%, actually now 35%, off of their oil revenues. Uh, so they don't actually care about like high rates. That doesn't act despite what some like pro business cultists might tell you. That doesn't actually like scare them away, quote unquote. They have infinite money anyways, so they don't actually care as long as your rate is consistent, whether you're taxing them 1% or you're taxing them 50%, because there are some countries that tax them 50%, like Gabon and Equatorial Guinea, I believe. So they will still do it even if you're taxing them 50%, as long as you're consistent, which Angola is not. Angola has constantly been flopping from one rate to another. When the not just oil companies, but also companies in general, but especially the oil companies really don't like that because when they want to know like they're going to have to pay out this much money in taxation to this and this country when they're doing their cost projection spreadsheets for the upcoming years so that they can know how much free expendable capital they're going to have to work on to put into new exploration and development projects and stuff. So when you start like uh screwing your rate around like all over the place, jumping from 20% to 45 back down to 32. That is actually what will start to drive them off. On top of the number one thing that drives them off, which is obviously uh, political volatility and instability, which is why no one's ever gone back to Sudan or South Sudan for that matter, or Chad. Oh, Josh is alive. All right. Well, I guess we'll start in 2 minutes and still give people a little bit of time to show up. I'll start off with some of like the lighter stuff, and then we'll deal with uh, thread number, I don't know, 16 that we've built up in just the last year or two of as the as the UN Secretary General actually put it rather succinctly 2 days ago at the UN Assembly. This is thread number 16 of, as he said, the world becoming unhinged. Or as I was phrasing it in like community posts, uh, starting with Russia, uh, then Turkey, then all the various stuff in Africa, now Azerbaijan, soon China. Everyone is quote unquote just going for it now. And some have actual specific reasons. Azerbaijan, in terms of like timing, them wanting to do this sort of now, there is some reasoning behind that, which I'll get into once we actually start. But like I said, give people a bit more time to show up. So I'll start with some more minor things. Well, not minor for the people they affect, but minor in comparison to the mass death currently going on. So Tunisia, you might remember Tunisia a while ago, back in July or June, they were down to, in total, their total national water supply, all their dams and everything across the country, was down to only about 9% of total capacity. And they were looking like they were actually going to run completely out of fresh water this year. Now, thankfully, that reversed. They got a several waves of rain off and on over the later summer, and that did refill them up to about 36% until the rain stopped. And that was about a month ago. And so now their levels have just started going down again, and over the last month have dropped from 36 down to 27% for their total nationwide water supply, all their reservoirs averaged together. So it's heading back downwards for them unless they suddenly get another burst of rain. So I will keep track of that and see how that goes. All right, what else do we have? Oh yeah, over in the U.S., since our natural gas production is so high now, it has hit its ceiling. It's plateaued out at about 115 billion cubic feet per day, and within a couple years, it should start to meander its way down and then hit a steeper downward curve from that. But because our gas production is so high now, and also uh, just as a additional buffer for us to be able to send supplies to friends if needed in the event of more actions on the part of hostile parties out there, which is kind of part of the reason why we had a bit of an oversized natural gas storage total inventory set across the country to begin with. But yeah, our total natural gas excess storage capacity was previously about 4 trillion cubic feet, and we actually hit the limit of that back in either 2019 or 2020, and had to just flare gas because of that. So, because of that, and also as a buffer measure uh, against friends being threatened supply wise by uh, actions from hostile parties in the future, we have rapidly expanded that storage capacity. And by sometime next year, several new cavern sites will be finished, and that will bring the total up to 5 trillion cubic feet of active usable storage from the previous cap of 4, which was the case up until 2020. As of this exact moment, I think it's up to 4.6, but I'm not positive. But by sometime next year, I think the later half of next year, it will be raised up to about 5 billion cubic feet of total storage capacity. And while we wait for more people to arrive and are still on the subject of natural gas, Brazil has finally decided to start actually pursuing natural gas, as apart from their uh, vast oil reserves that they have on their southern shelf, and again, only this portion here has actually been explored. This extension down here has been barely touched. They've only really focused on developing the oil. They've kind of stayed away from most of the gas, although there is a decent bit there. However, now in the modern environment where natural gas is in high demand everywhere, they've actually decided to go ahead and start drilling those gas fields and start developing their natural gas reserves, as their natural gas production and consumption are both right around 4 billion cubic feet per day. They basically just only have maintained production at whatever their domestic consumption levels are. Now they've decided to actually go forth and become a natural gas producer. So the first one of those fields is now beginning its first work, and they are allowing Equinor, the Norwegian oil industry, to do that, which is a good choice because Petrobras, Brazil's national oil industry, really sucks. They're not good. They are better than Pemex, which is Mexico's nationalized oil industry. Uh, and even Pemex is leagues better than Venezuela's nationalized oil industry. But still, Petrobras is like, I'll give them a 6 out of 10, maybe. Equinor, however, is a 10 out of 10, particularly for dealing with offshore stuff, because that's everything that Norway has. So Equinor is an excellent choice. So the first one of those fields is now beginning its initial development. It won't be producing for several years, but this one particular field itself on its own will, once it starts, jump online with 500 million cubic feet per day, or about 500 million cubic feet per day. And on the final end of the natural gas stuff, Argentina, as you may or may not have seen if you listened to the natural gas production levels episode. Uh, Again, I advise you to not just mine, but check channels just daily for new videos, because YouTube's not actually going to tell you about them. That's not how the algorithm works anymore. But Argentina finally finished the pipeline connection from the Vaca Muerta shale, or the third pipeline rather, from the Vaca Muerta shale up to Buenos Aires at the port, jumping their natural gas production from 3.6, where it was stuck at, up to now just under 5 billion cubic feet per day, which means Argentina has now become a natural gas exporter, and not via LNG tankers yet. They are working on that, but just into the neighboring nation's pipeline system between the local neighborhood here. So they're up to 5 billion cubic feet per day of production, and their own domestic oil, or their own domestic gas consumption levels are pretty constant around 3.5. So they're now exporting about 1.5 daily. All right, see who's around. Supposedly 8 or 9 people. All right. So we have gone into a new spiral. So we got Russia, Ukraine, Turkey, and northern Syria, now kind of northern Iraq, because they've been randomly bombing locations. All the stuff going on in Africa, the upcoming China-Taiwan invasion. Now we have the Azerbaijan Armenia developments. So, uh, anyone who's not familiar, somehow, the Nagorno Karabakh region around here is primarily populated by Armenians, although it's inside of Azerbaijan, which, as usual, when that happens with almost any country, means that the quote unquote host country wants to genocide the foreign minorities there. And they kind of like surrounded the place and did a blockade of food and medical supplies for the last several months. It's had the conditions deteriorating in there to the point that people were becoming hospitalized, except the hospitals can't do anything. So when they become hospitalized, UN health workers would evacuate people, a dozen or so by the day, out of Nagorno Karabakh over to Armenia itself. And Azerbaijan lets stuff out to go to Armenia, because that's what they want. They want the Armenians gone. However, they decided they didn't have the patience for that anymore, and just attacked the place. And they overran basically everything already in the last 48 hours. And they uh, about 10,000 people have fled to the Russian base, because Russia does have a foreign soil base in the region. About 10,000 Armenians from Nagorno-Karabakh have fled to that base, uh, to be evacuated permanently to Armenia itself. So this is kind of accomplishing the goal that Azerbaijan wanted. because they basically just ran out of patience. They didn't want the slow trickle out anymore. They decided they just wanted to force everybody out point blank. And 10,000 isn't everybody, but it is a lot, as Nagorno Karabakh has about 120,000 people, almost all of whom are Armenian. I'm not sure what the exact split is, but about 1,000 have been medically evacuated over the course of this year because of the blockade. So that was already 1,000 out. Now, after Azerbaijan attacked everything and shelled random apartment buildings, Russia style. So they also, killed several dozen random people, but primarily the ethnic cleansing is via forcing everyone to flee, which so far is at least the 10,000 people that are uh, at that space slash airfield for shuttling evacuation. So that would, plus the 1,000 that already got medically evacuated over the course of the year, drop that from 120 down to 109,000. And that would be assuming that those 10,000 people at that one particular airfield are the only Armenians from Nagorno Karabakh that want to leave, which I doubt is the case, because Azerbaijan, if they stay, is just going to kill them. Like, there's no point in trying to uh, there's no point in them actually even trying to hide that. They already went like full they already like went full radical Islam route on a few people, as three residents of the region were beheaded by Azeri forces when they were captured. So I didn't think they'd be going the ISIS route of stuff or the Al Qaeda route, but apparently they decided that that's what they felt like doing. And yeah, so if you go to this guy's account, there's some like hourly stuff with like combat footage and stuff. I'm not going to play anything on the stream because then my stream will immediately get flagged, or not immediately, but after I post it, within like an hour, it would get flagged. But yeah, so there's stuff you can see, and also the Armenian, the president of, or sorry, prime minister of Armenia said he's not going to do anything to protect the Armenians that are there. Like, they can come to Armenia, but if they start getting like genocided by Azerbaijan, he's not going to do anything about it, which kind of has everybody pretty pissed in Armenia. And so the people were like trying, uh, they were like beating up the presidential security, and they were trying to bust into like the government buildings. So he might kind of get like, I don't know, thrown out a window by a crowd for saying that if they start killing everybody, he's just going to leave them to die. Where is some of the? Where's some of the? Oh, I'll talk about that stuff also. Where is the specific stuff I'm looking for? uh, yeah, there's some more combat stuff. Uh, where's the stuff I'm looking for? Oh, wait, no, it's not there. It's over here. Happy cat. Where are we going? Going. Inflation, Costa Rica. Blah blah blah. Blah blah blah. It's down. No. Uh. Oh yeah, this was the most hilarious. I'll talk about that too in a second. Uh, where was I going? Dang, how far down was it? Oh yeah, there was the. I think that was the That was the people trying to bust into the presidential building. Oh yeah, here it is. So this is Azerbaijan's forever president. He does have elections in the same way Putin has elections, and you know, in some way China has elections. But yeah, he blatantly said that they're just going to actually attack Armenia itself eventually. He gave similar to I don't know if you guys remember at the start of the invasion when Putin gave that like rambly grandpa speech about how the Russian Empire like needs to be restored and stuff. He gave a similar speech in which he said it. He flat out said this isn't just about Nagorno Karabakh. Armenia itself is Azeri land and needs to be taken. So he, that is an admission of what everyone already knew, that this is going to actually turn on its head eventually. As for like the exact timing of this, it's kind of tied to some stuff. So our Azerbaijan has made a fair deal of money off of oil and gas over the last bit of time, and that's let them, buy a bunch of uh, decent military hardware. However, they have an issue, and that is this. They peaked a while ago. Their production is on the downward trend. It is going to get a few, uh, you know, bumps back upward from some lingering stuff, like that last bit up there of their Caspian Sea portion that has not yet been fully explored. So they will get some upward bumps from some last lingering stuff, but overall, they're on the downward slide. So even with the permanently higher oil prices that we're going to be set into, their revenues are going to be heading downward and downward. And economically, they have not really, diversified into like a decent enough economy. They manufacture trolley cars, or like trolley like street trams, and they manufacture buses. But other than that, they don't really have much going. Plus, also, downloads, Relation, Azerbaijan. Yeah, plus also, yeah, you got, this issue, and they're starting to fold inwards there demographically. And, at the moment, they have this decent wide wing here of currently in service aged military population. So it was kind of like now was the best time frame to pull their whole reclamation slash ethnic cleansing slash genocide slash eventual actual invasion of Armenia itself, which will then turn Iran on them, which will then turn Turkey on Iran, which will the further complications from that I can't entirely foresee. That becomes a different spread of pathways that could then happen in terms of like the full blown outcome. But yeah, this was like going to be the not like this year. I mean, I don't mean like this instant, but this set of years, the 2020s, was going to be the time frame when they would kind of need to do it. So that is currently ongoing. Let's see what we got. Uh, Nothing from chat actually. No messages, no super chats. 12 versus 8 and a 0 bit rate. No, I do not have a 0 bit rate. So this is a lie, as things usually are. So yeah, as the stream title implies, Azerbaijan is just going for it, as many other people are starting to do with stuff. And Russia, despite supposedly protecting Armenia, is doing nothing because Russia can't really do anything because it's fully embedded in Ukraine, and also, as has been proven in Ukraine, Russia just sucks. And honestly, like uh, not lopsided, not if things were lopsided numbers wise in their favor, but uh, you know, toe for toe, number for number, Azerbaijan would, at, since everyone else has been, Azerbaijan would probably just cream them anyways. And in fact, actually, Russia is so cucked at this point. They Azerbaijan killed like some of Russia's actual soldiers at one of the bases in the region, and Russia uh, did nothing except for ask. They did send an official like diplomat's letter asking for an apology, but yeah, funny story about those guys too. So apparently that was and you can find that in some of the posts on those accounts and stuff as well. But and the actual like the flat out admission from the Russian Ministry of Defense as well, uh, like citing their sorrow uh, to the family members over the deaths of the Russian soldiers that were killed by technically supposedly friendly fire because supposedly Russia and Azerbaijan are also friends because Azerbaijan lets them have bases there. But, no longer Azerbaijan doesn't care anymore. But those guys were apparently three guards, infantrymen who were the guards of the ranking officers at that base, and the ranking officers of the base themselves. It was their vehicle, and they were fleeing. They were literally the first ones out. They were making a run for the other base, like up in this area that's not being attacked. And the Azerbaijani forces, I guess, thought it was an Armenian vehicle. They shelled it and then shot at it, and all the Russians inside died. And three of them were high-ranking officers, two colonels, and a Navy captain. So for anyone who's not familiar, uh, the rank system is different in each branch of the military. So the officer ranks in like the Air Force and Army and stuff in most countries. Uh, Captain is the third rank up. It goes second lieutenant, first lieutenant, captain, major, lieutenant colonel, and then colonel. And in the Navy, however, on ships, it goes ensign, junior lieutenant, lieutenant, lieutenant commander, commander, captain, because captain of the ship. So it's different in the Navy. So captain is the equivalent rank of colonel in the Navy. So and these guys, uh, the two colonels were from like somewhere way out there, and the captain is literally the captain of their is the overseeing officer is supposed to be the nor supposed to be the overseeing officer of their northern Russia's like northern the submarine portion of their northern fleet. So these randos who have nothing to do with this and no experience with this region were stationed here to be in charge of this. It's almost like Russia is having to throw randos everywhere to fill gaps because, despite their claims to the contrary, their ranking field officers and uh, and higher ranking officers like colonels and apparently captains keep getting killed in Ukraine, like several high ranking naval officers just did in their Navy, in their Black Sea Navy Command Center in Sevastopol, which got struck by Ukraine with Storm Shadow just yesterday. And today, also, Actually, I think even have the footage from a Crimea resident of the explosion. I have to scroll down to it. Yeah, there it is. This shouldn't get me flagged. That's the explosion when the storm shadow hit one of the command center buildings in Sevastopol. So, uh, not known yet, like which officers and of which rank of the Russian Navy were killed in that strike. And also, just today, Ukraine struck with multiple cruise missiles. They struck one of Russia's airfields in Crimea near Simferopol because remember I previously said that since Crimea is now within Ukraine's active striking range, Russia had moved their like combat aircraft back over to the mainland so that they wouldn't be struck. Well, apparently they decided to undo one of the few smart moves that they've done this whole war, and they actually had moved several aircraft back to that airfield to assumably, conduct strikes, probably to try to bomb the multiple river crossing sites that Ukrainian forces have miraculously made across the Dnipro because Russian artillery can't seem to do the job. So they were probably going to try to like bomb them out, but that was kind of stupid because they'd have to fly there and land, refuel, and get their armaments on and stuff. And that left an open window, which Ukraine took, struck the airbase with multiple missiles. We have not received, we haven't received like the visuals yet to know how many aircraft were damaged or destroyed or which kind. We do know that there were only two types of aircraft that were moved back there again, and those were Su-24s, which are primarily meant to be ground bombers, and Su-30s, which are multi-role aircraft, which were probably going to escort the Su-24s with and fire off missiles to counter any anti-air stuff. But now they've been struck. We don't know the extent yet. We'll end up seeing soon enough. And also, just before that, the other day, before the strike on Sevastopol's command center, Ukraine also launched several more storm shadows that struck one of the uh, one of the few remaining marine refueling plants or marine refueling tanks with marine fuel beside the docks. So that's 3 days in a row. So now this has moved from Ukraine having enough on hand and being capable of, you know, sending stuff to strike Crimea like once every week or so, and before that, once every 2 weeks, to now they're hammering it literally every day. So if Russia moves stuff onto Crimea again, like the level of utter stupidity that will be uh, being demonstrated by that decision will be like so beyond indisputable at this point that the whole like simping for Putin argument is like the only thing that will be left for trying to defend such decisions. Right. What else do we have? Oh yeah, and on the subject of Russia, internal Russian stuff. We also had where was it? I think it was also here. Uh, so it was a few days ago. Where is it? Where is it? Come on. Scrolling, 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 scrolling. How far down do I have to go? Uh, scrolling, scrolling, scrolling. Oh, damn. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Actually, so much has happened in like just the past 24 hours that it's going to be a while. It was several days ago. Come on. Load faster. Where is it? Is it really this far down? Come on. Uh, come on. Actually, it might be. Oh, wait, I already have them here. It might be faster. Scroll down here. Uh, oh, yeah. Uh, well, before that other stuff, here's actual like on ground stuff from the sub that Russia insists wasn't damaged in that strike. Where is seriously? Can't possibly have been that far back. Or did I just hold on? I might have not actually marked it. Oh no, really? It was the next one down. If I had just kept scrolling for like half a second more, it would have happened. So this is a Su-34, which is another. It's Russia's quote unquote high end or high tech ground attack aircraft, and it crashed on its own as this has become a frequent thing. And you know, normally, you could get away with like the U.S. rate, which is the U.S. has about 2,500 plus combat aircraft, not including helicopters, and the U.S. usually has a rough average of about one accident or so, or one like equipment mishap in with regards to combat aircraft, combat jets. Usually has about one per year, roughly. Russia only has about 40% as many combat jets on paper, at least, as the US does. In reality, it's closer to 30%. And despite that, Russia's accident rate was something closer to three or four per year before invading Ukraine. Now, after invading Ukraine, that has gone up to what's equating to around a dozen non-combat crashes per year, as in crashes of combat aircraft inside Russia, nowhere near the front lines, not struck by anything, they just fail. And this is because of inability to replace parts, because despite, again, Putin's, insistence on how secure uh, Russia's military, Russia's military like baseline is and industrial complex, Russia's stuff is actually uh, heavily full of non-Russian made components. And so they've jumped from three or four non-combat crashes per year up to now a dozen. This is the latest one, an Su-34. Before that, a couple weeks back, there was an Su-25. Then before that, a few weeks before that, there were two helicopters. One of which literally just had a rotor failure midair. Before that, there was there was an Su-25 that was having trouble climbing after taking off and ended up clipping power lines and nose diving right into the ground. And then before that, there were two MiG 31s that just had, spontaneous double engine failure at altitude and dropped out of the sky. So things are on an internal downward spiral. And where's okay? I'm not digging through my stuff for the link to that guy. Uh, wait, no, unless no, I wouldn't. Okay. Sorry. Under the subfolders and stuff, I have like thousands of links. I've been trying to thin it down to something more reasonable, but I have thousands of links, and I don't want to go digging through them. I will next time. I'll make sure to go find the link to that Russian demographer guy and put it somewhere easily accessible. But the guy who gives uh, who sort of leaks Russia's demographic information, both the public stuff that Rosstat, Russia's statistics agency, publishes publicly, and also then the real data that's being concealed. He used to be an official demographer, but he fled to Turkey and now lives somewhere in Turkey because, like many people who were not supposed to get a conscription or a draft notice during the mobilization last year, he, during their horribly inept, poorly organized mass mobilization, he ended up finding out that he had a mobilization order. Despite as a supposedly important government employee, he was supposed to not get one. So he fled the country, like many hundreds of thousands of Russians have, to avoid being mindlessly sent to their deaths. And he has still been providing info as he still has friends inside. So this one is not like some kind of leaked information. This is just the publicly admitted stuff, some of which is probably altered and downplayed. But according to Rostat's public admission, their publicly released data for the first half of this year plus July, their demographic situation continues on a downward spiral. Total births were 726,000. Total deaths were 1.02 million. Then there is the commentary that he added was not just, and those deaths are excluding uh, Russians killed in Ukraine. Uh, he added on stuff that he's been able to uncover with like funeral notices and actual like individual city and regional reports of uh, of fatalities and stuff. Internal non like combat deaths in Ukraine because it includes the usual even split of men and women. It is like actual internal deaths. Uh, Russia is also like mildly understating their internal domestic death rate, even excluding the Ukraine stuff. And so for 2022, he said they understated their total number of deaths by around 50 to 60,000. And for the first half of this year, they have excluded about 45,000 regular, like natural causes deaths. Again, not even accounting for the Ukraine stuff. So, as expected with stuff from Moscow, the information is being altered. Granted, they're not like horribly skewing it uh, like they probably want to because they are trying to, in many ways, still trying to like maintain some visage of like credibility. But the part where they blatantly lied is they claim in the statement that Russia's birth rate has only declined by 3% since last year, which is pretty BS. And also, since they've taken since they both taken their whole super, or Putin's on his whole like super I'm totally a Christian binge, and also because they're trying to conceal the birth rate drop in general, they are now filtering out the number of abortions, and they're categorizing the rise in abortions in Russia. They're just shifting it over under the label of miscarriages. So under the since the war started, the number of quote unquote miscarriages in Russia has suddenly jumped upward. It's lunged in just over a year upwards by 14 or 15%. Now, again, as implied, what that really is the number of abortions in Russia has suddenly surged upwards by 14 or 15%. But Moscow does not want that, you know, really known because, that there's no reason anyone would want to have an abortion in Russia. Russia is just a wonderful place to raise a family. Everything is wonderful. All is going according to plan. Nothing is coming unhinged. But so that is going on. Let me check chat. Oh, hey, look, it's this guy. This dude's alive. Are you are you still not homeless? Are you still in that free room you got? You better be. Okay. So got that out of the way. Oh yeah, and China is really keeping it suppressed for the moment. The average amount of time it seems to be for them, like trying to keep things under wraps and then failing to, seems to on average be about 2 months, and it's been about 1 week since it happened. But they flat out even as like literal video footage from the Indian side of those border clashes back in 2020 and 2022 was like released online, like publicly. China officially still denied that any of that happened for like months afterwards. So for stuff that there's obviously like no video footage of that anyone else is releasing publicly, they have an easier time denying for a while. But uh, one of China's newer subs, one of their more updated, supposedly able to match the West's subs, has gone missing somewhere. Uh, oh yeah, sorry. The Yellow Sea is the this area here. So one of their subs has gone missing. Now they deny this has happened, but the the type of like the search effort that you would kind of send out for it has been noticed, from South Korea's end, and it is a toned down one, like as much as you can tone it down to try to hide it, but still obviously be looking for the sub because you do want to find it. So one of China's newer, better subs has not like the newest, but like their newer subs. One of the ones that they developed like I think around 2012, because everything before that, before they started their self development and modernization thing, everything else was like Soviet hand me down subs from like the 60s and 70s, which still comprise about most of China's submarine fleet. Something like 50 or 60 out of their 90 subs that they brag about are like literal ancient Soviet subs, really loud, noisy Soviet subs, not the better, quieter ones. Because I do give the Soviet Union credit for that. They did actually, at the very end of the Cold War, they did actually build a few like decent sub designs, although didn't have the they didn't have the economic wherewithal to actually like build more than a handful. But yeah, so one of China's subs has gone missing, and as has been the submarine theme this year, probably experienced a spontaneous implosion and is lying somewhere on the bottom of the Yellow Sea. But we'll end up finding out the details eventually because the details never stay hidden. They always leak somehow, some way. It doesn't stay concealed forever. And all right, what else did we have? A few other things, but then that's going to be the end because, like I said, this one has to be short. Oh yeah, so again, with the deterioration of Russia beginning to affect their totalitarian allies, like the junta that rules Myanmar for the moment, the various rebel factions in Myanmar in these northern states up here, they have been gaining rapid ground. They've been overrunning the official government forces left and right because the official government forces seem to have lost a certain capability that they had up until just this year. See, the rebels, while Myanmar's ground army is basically just guys with AK-47s and some ancient tanks from the 50s, uh, Myanmar does have a tiny air force with like some Su-30s from Russia because that's all they could afford, and also that's all they would really need, uh, because then they can just give generalized air support from altitude to their pathetic ground forces. However, their pathetic ground forces have been getting beaten left and right. It, it it's almost like what's happening is happening. Their air support isn't there anymore. It's suddenly disappeared. There's no more Su-30s buzzing overhead to bomb the rebels and also random villages for the sake of massacring people. There's no more air support for them. I wonder what happened. It's almost like they expended all their munitions and aren't getting any more from Russia. And also, they've run through their spare parts pile for aircraft maintenance and aren't getting any more from Russia because Russia is screwed. So now the uh, the rebels are really starting to kick their face in, which is good. I mean, it is going to take a while, unfortunately, but things are finally turning around for Myanmar. The junta is really starting to get the curb stomp delivered to them. I mean, not delivering it themselves. And all right, what else do we want to do? Oh yeah, okay. So Chile. So as you guys know, Chile uh, last year or the year before that, they elected a new government, super environmentalist government, like actually unreasonably environmentalist government that has been constantly refusing to permit any new mining operations to, take advantage of their vast copper, lithium, and other mineral deposits in their Andes Mountains, which are, the backbone of their economy. Still not as much as it used to be, but still is the pretty solid backbone for them. They've been constantly denying even denying like further like revamp repair work on existing operations and stuff. Well, apparently, after 2 years of falling government revenues, the message got through, I guess. And so they finally, for the first time in 2 years, actually uh, gave the green light, signed the permission form to allow expansions on a one existing copper mining operation up in Antofagasta there somewhere. Whether this will become a pattern and they will actually start allowing, the rest of them, like they should be doing, we will have to wait and see. But I think, the dip and then even further dip in government revenues might have been a signaling light, hopefully. Okay. Was there anything else on here? At least anything else of uh pertinent immediacy? Oh yeah. So another sort of like hint at China's internal financial woes, or I'll give I'll let people work with the benefit of the doubt if they want. It might just be an unwillingness to work with anybody anymore. But China is, after being famous for constantly handing out money to many third world nations, especially in Africa, for both mineral access and to kind of buy anti-Western loyalty. China's loans and handouts that they've been giving, and to Pakistan as well, they have been dropping precipitously. Especially these last couple years, they have fallen off a cliff. And Pakistan in particular, they have outright refused. They've been constantly propping up Pakistan from to they've been like the only real reason Pakistan's been able to avoid financially imploding. Pakistan uh, kept coming back to China because China didn't really have conditions other than letting their navy use that port. Uh, Whereas the IMF to give out loans wanted Pakistan to actually you know tone itself down a bit and get its economic incompetency under control. Whereas China's only condition was let our navy use that port if we want to. They haven't even actually used it. They just want access to it. But for the last year and a half now, China, with Pakistan in particular as the primary example, has just stopped. They've just said no each time Pakistan has kept coming to them again. They've just turned them away. So China's either maybe it's just a mood change, but also fair chance there's some financial issues going on inside, and they are not really in the position they were to just be like tossing money around at everybody. So we'll see where that goes. And also, they're probably trying to redirect as much spending as possible for their rapid ramp up to get ready for the big stage play that will end similarly for them that Ukraine has for Russia, except in China's case, it's going to be much quicker because it's not a porous overland easy slide in and out situation. It's a amphibious crossing operation. So if the if the general initial effort just fails, then that's it. It just fails. As opposed to Ukraine, where Russia can like keep blood dripping stuff in to keep this going. That is not the case with China and Taiwan or any amphibious invasion operation. Right now, I think that could be it, except for the quick ending bit of Mexico. Again, as the world divests away from China, especially now with the steel industry looking to move their steel production elsewhere. Mexico has become one of their destinations. So there are two new steel facilities under construction in Mexico now. One is a 2 million per year plant, and one's going to be a 1 million per year plant, million tons per year. So Mexico is one of their go-tos, as with many other things. So Mexico's economic uprising is going to be continuing. The real primary one though is India, as India is adding another 8 to 10 million tons per year of new steel production capacity. So that is all moving out of China as well, along with many other things. Oh, and yeah, as I guess punishment for leaving China, and also because no one in China wants to buy China's like crash tier domestically made smartphone. So a combination of those two things, China like recently apparently banned the iPhone, and that has drastically upset Chinese millennials and Zoomers. But that's going to be about it for this one. Hey, uh, no, as in, and someone's supporting genocide, so we will ban that person. Uh, no, what's yep. No, as in you're not homeless, uh, or you're not in that free apartment room anymore. Okay, I'm not ending stream until I get an answer from Horizon. You better still be in that apartment, and I'll close all this out while we wait. You better answer me. Find some stuff to randomly look at while he dodges the question. Oil still hanging out around. Yep. I don't want your stupid skanky women on my screen. Right, oil still hanging out around 90. Ugh. Okay, look. So I'm about to be able to go back in my room. The new AC is coming. We're gonna put it in this weekend, hopefully. So then the spare room here in my parents' house will be available again. You just come down here, okay? Especially before it turns to winter up there. But yeah, that's going to be and you have my Discord, so you better message me. That's going to be it for this one. So thank you everybody for sticking around, and I will see you all around next time. Oh wait,